Hey everybody, hi, it's Rob at Old Style Classics Baseball Cards coming to you January 12th, it looks like there on my computer. Yep, January 12th, 2024, Friday night, 3-day weekend. Woo! But I got some sad news, people. I got some sad news. I'm sorry. No eBay. Didn't get anything new from eBay today. I don't think I'm getting anything new from eBay till next week, unless something shows up tomorrow. Yeah, but no mail on Sunday and Monday, right? So, Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe at the earliest. But that doesn't mean it's all bad news. Just means today I don't have anything new to show you. So that gives me an opportunity to go and show you some of my older stuff. So maybe I'll make a couple videos here. Here's one of the sets I was going to show you, and I think I did do a video on these cards, but I believe, because I don't see it in any of my other videos that I've done before, that this is one of the ones that I lost. If you don't know that story, when I first started doing all these videos, I did like 15 videos and they were on my computer, but then my computer filled up, so I took my external hard drive SSD and was transferring the videos over because I hadn't decided on my YouTube page yet, and somehow I hit yes to all at some point in time because it didn't recognize that they were different, even though the date's different, and I lost like all 15 of them because I hadn't uploaded any of them. Stupid move. Anyway, so then I tried the whole recovery thing. I was only able to get like 3 or 4 of them back, and so a lot of the stuff that I did get at eBay when I first started doing this again is lost. So I'm gonna have to go through my eBay and see what I got and compare it to what I have in my videos, and that way I can re-show you the stuff that I got back then. But anyways, so now it seems I've seen some videos this week where people are talking about how especially in the vintage world, now in pre-war world it makes sense because this is all there was, but during the vintage era, product issue cards, oddballs if you like, were kind of frowned upon at that point in time, because you had pre-war, then you had the war. You know, there was like paper shortage, and so they weren't really doing cards like in the 40s and early 50s a whole lot, especially like in candy and all this other stuff. There was a, you know, rationing. And then in the 50s is when they started coming out with baseball cards again, but then they were more just baseball cards to be baseball cards, even though some will claim, oh, it's to get you to buy the gum. Yeah, maybe early on, but really it became more about the cards. So oddball stuff was kind of looked down upon, but they kept doing it all through the years until they kind of stopped doing it about 15 to 20 years ago, when the whole licensing thing became an issue. And so now you don't see this stuff hardly at all anymore. But one of the things I like is oddball cards. So I like old style classic baseball cards, kind of like Allen and Ginter and Gypsy Queen, Goodwin Champions, the old fashioned style. I like pre-war cards, and I like cards from when I grew up, so late 70s all the way up to now. So nevertheless, but one of the things I always collected when I was a kid, because I didn't want to take what little allowance I got, like $2 a week. You know, I want to play video games, get candy, buy Star Wars figures and comic books and all kinds of stuff. So I don't want to spend all my money on baseball cards, so I'd go to the store with my mom and get her to buy products that came with cards, like Cookie Crisp or something. In 87, I really got into buying actual cards, like Topps, Dunross, and Flair. But I was still always fascinated with oddball, product issue, food issues. And so one of my favorite sets of oddball cards, and you know I love MSA, but and this here is MSA 1987 Home Plate Heroes from Kraft Macaroni and Cheese Dinners. Now, one of the stories about these cards is, you know, I used to just collect the boxes, and I had like 5 boxes unopened that was in that chest I left at my brother's house. If you go back and look at that video, well, never had a problem with it for like 20 years or however long. And then when I went back to visit there a couple years back, some bugs had got in there and eaten all the macaroni from all those boxes, and there was all these dead bugs, like tiny little things all over the place. And so they got in there, they ate it, and then I guess they all died. And so those boxes are still fine, but good rule of thumb, people, if you get food issue stuff, if you do find any more like Wheaties boxes and stuff like that, just open them and empty it, because I really don't think the box with the food in it is really worth not opening and removing the food, because really the box is not the card, except maybe since they stopped doing cards. So that's another whole oddball issue that I'm going to talk about some point in time, since they don't do oddballs anymore. Maybe stuff like the Mike Trout Super Pretzel boxes, those are the collectible, the actual box, because there is no card. But you still want to take the food out of it. So anyways, I used to go to the store with my mom to pick these up, and I would get her to buy me like 1 or 2 or maybe 3 of these at a time. So I probably had like 15 of these cards, 16, I guess it's an even number, and cut a few out. And like most kids, wasn't great at hand cutting things, and always fascinated with this set, always wanted to get the complete set. And then finally I saw a guy early on here this last year selling a complete set of these panels. So I could have bought the full boxes, like emptied boxes, but still in the box shape, but the shipping and all that would have just been too much, and not a whole lot of room. So I figured the panels are just fine, and it's not like these cards are worth a lot, so I really didn't need to worry about you know, what shape they're in. But just being on the panel, they're pretty decent. They could be cut out and probably decent grade. But these are the kind of things I love, in this 1987 Home Plate Heroes by Kraft, done by MSA, Michael Schechter and Associates, is one of my favorite sets of cards. Not because they're great looking by any means. They're very much like maybe the Hostess cards from the 70s, but I think they always reminded me of like pre-war, like the kind of ways you would have got like tobacco cards or caramel cards or stuff like that. So I got the complete set, but one of the cards, one of the panels, didn't have this green part, and it just drove me crazy. So I actually went out on eBay and found the actual one panel that didn't come with this green part and bought that. So now I have the complete set and the panel. Now, much like your T206s, you know how there's different variations, you know, like 6,000 different options because of different backs and different factories and different print runs and different years and stuff like that. Well, these all came out in 87, but they weren't all put on the boxes in order all the time. You could get them card 1, 2, and then card 3 and 4, and then card 4, 5, and 6. But sometimes you would get card 2 and 40, or card 19 and 36, something like that. So I hear there's like 4 or 5 or something like that, different options, like combinations, that you could put this complete set together. But then you would also have a lot of doubles in those. So I'm not about that. I'm usually not a set collector, so to speak, except for something small like this that I like. So I don't need to have all the different variations. I just wanted the complete set, and I prefer the one that's in order, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that's what we got for you. So we're going to start showing you these. And this is 87 Kraft Home Plate Heroes. There you go. That's your first. I'm just going to, from this point forward, I'm going to call this your first normal panel. So I'm just going to call the normal ones the ones that are in order. Then the variations would be the one that would be like 1 in like 10 or something like that. So these are just going to all be the normals, and that's what I mean by it. Now I do have some singles, the hand cut ones that I had hand cut out when I was younger, but I didn't pull that box out. So when I get to those, I'll re-show these again. But then at a comic book store here over in Campbell, I was going through, they had some cards sitting there, and I guess I'll talk about the Eric Davis card when I get to it. I did find an autograph version. So there you go, you got Hall of Famer Eddie Murray and Dale Murphy, you know, all airbrushed out because Kraft didn't want to pay for the licensing other than the Players Association, which is what this logo is. So of course they're all airbrushed out, and they're just super simple, straightforward, to the point, blank backs, all of them. Now if you know about grading, if you were to cut this out, you basically need to have some of the, you'd have to, the whole way around, you'd have to have that line, the dotted line showing. I mean, it doesn't have to be on the outside of the dotted line, but if you were to cut it on the dotted line, they would have to be able to see some of that dotted line. So you're better off just cutting outside the line if you were submitting. And I have seen a few of these have been submitted, maybe just because a person liked them, or as a gag, or they got a mass order or something like that. But I just love this set, and it doesn't even have my boy Andre Dawson in it. And I just remember going to like Saving Gain, I think was the name of the store, up on Albuquerque on Montebon Indian School. It was like an orange facade on the outside of the store. It was kind of like a Bag and Save. If anyone remembers those, it was kind of like pre warehouse club. Just mostly basically a normal grocery store, but just kind of bigger. I don't know how to describe it. And I would dig around these boxes looking for the guys that I wanted. Just like moving the stuff all around in the shelf and sitting on the floor because they were at the bottom. So anyways, there you go. You got one Hall of Famer and Dale Murphy. Alright. So, beautiful cards. Nothing else to it. Alright, then number 2. Sorry people, already 15 minutes into it almost. And so these were the stars in 1986 apparently. So the 87 set. And there you got, this one's a little, that other one was a little flimsier. This one feels a little more solid. Hall of Famer Cal Ripken Jr. And Mike Scott, who was a really good pitcher there for a while. The Houston Astros when they were in the National League. See a little bit of the blue there. So this one looks like it came from those spiral Kraft macaroni and cheese instead of your mainstream one, which are the darker blue. And so I guess there's other options too, like if you were collecting the complete box. Now what I would do in those complete box, unless you had all kinds of room for display, would be to open the flaps and then flatten it out like you would a cereal box. But I guess you can get the different kind of macaroni that they came with. So I guess you can have multiple sets just based on the Kraft product that it came in. But they're all macaroni and cheese, but you know they have different kinds of macaroni and cheese. You can go on a Google and look at the images of the full boxes and what they looked like at the time. Love that set. There you go, Mr. Iron Man himself, Cal Ripken Jr. Cards 3 and 4. Alright, next we have 5 and 6. Jim Rice and Jody Davis. Old Jody Davis, catcher on the Cubs at the time. Same one with the light blue over here. Still got all the borders showing. So Jim Rice, your Hall of Famer, and Jody Davis, an okay player. You know, 250 batting average, 20 home run guy, so not bad for a catcher. There you go. 5 and 6. I was so happy when I got this. This is one of the ones I used to go and probably got multiples of, because I knew Wade Boggs was popular at the time, and of course, Rhino for my Cubbies. Everyone loved Rhino. Ryan Sandberg. So cards 7 and 8. So here you go, Wade Boggs collector. I'm sure you probably got this card. Look at that. 357 batting average in 149 games. Only 8 home runs though for old Boggsy there. Then our Rhino there only had 14 home runs. Not too great a year there, it didn't look like. But there you go, 2 Hall of Famers on one panel, so that's good. 7 and 8. So here we got 9 and 10, because 7, 8, 9. So why 10's afraid, right? Once again, so Wally Joyner was a big chase guy back in the day. So let's see what he did his first year. So you used to want to get Wally Joyner cards at the time, because look at what he did in 154 games. He had 172 hits with 22 home runs and a 290 batting average. So I don't know, he might have been Rookie of the Year. Pretty good numbers there. Petered out a little later on, but that's 9 and 10 obviously. So 9 and 10. And this is the Eric Davis that I picked, not this one, but I picked up an Eric Davis card, just the single, at that comic book store, and it was signed to Eric Davis on here, and I was like, for $1 I bought it. I didn't know if it was legit or not, but I have picked up an archive signature series Eric Davis, or Clearly Authentic maybe, autograph, and then I've looked at his autographs online, and it looks to be legit, so pull that out someday. But he was superstar too. He might have, maybe those are both rookies of the year at some point. Look, old Eric Davis, and it had his 27 home runs. .277 batting average, not too bad for a power hitter. But he was a pretty hot prospect too. So that would have been a nice one to get. Probably people would have been chasing at the time. And I do remember, because I did visit Chicago in '87, going to, you know, there was a million card shops at the time because baseball cards were really taking off. And I remember going to the card shop just down my neighbors, my cousins' lived on a side street, and there was a street here, and so they lived like right at the corner house. Then you went down here, and this was like the main road, and then like there was a little convenience. Chicago's always like that. It's like a convenience store here, a bar here, like then a bar. So this is the street. It's a convenience store, bar, and a bowling alley, like on the second floor, which always freaked me out. I was like on the second floor. And then they would have little shops along the way. Then you would go to the next street, and it would be like a little convenience store was like over here. And then there was like a restaurant, and then stuff like that. Like walking over to the playground at the school to play wall ball or baseball or whatever they played in Chicago, and or to go to the swimming pool that they had, like the community pool. But anyways, we'd go over to this like convenience store. They didn't like the guy that ran it, but then like right next to the bar was like a little baseball card shop, and so we'd go in there, and I remember seeing a ton of these, and I was always like, oh my god, I wish I had the $15 or whatever the guy wanted to have the complete set of these. So I remember even back in the day, like, oh man, that guy just had a whole stack of these, and I just thought these were the coolest cards because I love those 84 Cookie Crisp Rost and Purina cards. And then when I seen these, I was really into buying it. So that kind of started, I guess, a little before 87, like maybe near the end of it, the summer of 86. But I was more buying Oddball. And just remember, God, I wish I had like $10 or $12 or whatever the guy was asking for this complete set, because I thought it was going to be the most valuable thing in the world because it was not what everyone else was getting. And I tend to collect that way still. I tend to like stuff that most other people think is garbage, you know, and or don't respect as much, I guess, like Allen Ginter or whatever. I don't want to collect what everyone else is getting because it's, for me, it's not about money. You know, I enjoy these. It was my version of getting a tobacco card, which I could never afford. Obviously, I wasn't going to pay $10 for a card, you know. So to me, this was like, oh man, this is what those kids back in like 1920 would be doing, getting a box of candy with a card strip on it or something like that, or an insert like a Ty Cobb or a Cracker Jack card or something. So to me, I think I was aware of like Cracker Jack cards were one of the most popular and expensive sets, and I was like, oh, this is like our version of that. This is kids today's version of what those kids were getting in Cracker Jack or something like that back in the day. So, always fascinated with this set. This was like the one that I was really going for a while there. And then like in 87, 88, I was able to afford a little more. Probably could take my lunch money and save that. And then, you know, skip lunch like 2 times a week or something. And then ride over to like Kmart and buy those big packs of M&Ms and get the M&M cards and put that set together. So, yep. Alright, 9 and 10. Next. Alright, you can see the difference here. See, that's the dark blue. Number 11 and 12. So, you can see here, that's light blue, dark blue. So the light blue, I believe, is for the spiral macaroni and cheese. And the dark blue is your classic Kraft macaroni and cheese that you still get today. And you could still find some, I would call them collectible Kraft macaroni and cheese boxes. Usually not going to give you like a card or anything, but it'll have like an advertisement for some movie. I think I got one that had LeBron James and Bugs Bunny on it for Space Jam. So it would have like LeBron James and Bugs Bunny macaroni shapes, and they would have their picture on it. And to me, that's like what oddball cards are now. They're not really cards, but they're like an oddball collectible, because hey, you're getting a LeBron James and Bugs Bunny, so those are collectible. So the box itself is the collectible. So there you go, Ozzie Guillen and Tony Pena. There you go, Mangini, another pirate. So Ozzie got the White Sox their World Series win as a manager, right? Alright, next. So that was 11 and 12. Here's 13 and 14. There you go. Hall of Famer Harold Baines made it onto this card. That's from an original Kraft Macaroni Cheese, as you can see. Dark blue. See how Harold Baines did. 21 home runs, 296. Yeah, he had a lot of hits, and yeah, pretty solid year there, not so bad. I know people complain about him being like one of the lower level people in the Hall of Fame, but I think there's some people from way early on that might be a little more questionable, but he's a Hall of Famer, and there you go. If you're a Harold Baines collector, Harold Baines, do you guys have that one? And old Johnny Ray, Pittsburgh Pirates, number 13 and 14. Guess 13 wasn't an unlucky number for Harold, and it's not for me either. Alright, Mr. Joe Carter and Ozzie Smith. So who knows if old Joe will make it someday. Had pretty good career. Have to make it on the Veterans Committee. And then Ozzie Smith there, number 15 and 16. Ozzie and his big 0 home runs. 280 batting average, pretty good. Yeah, defensive Hall of Famer, to say the least. Alright. Never been a big fan of Ozzie Smith, but I do recognize how good a player he is. There you go, Corey Snyder and Vince Coleman. Vince was pretty solid runner and speedy guy, but not a great average there. 1 home run up to that point in time. That's in 300 games. And old Corey here started off pretty hot himself there. 24 home runs, 272 for a rookie, and faded away. But he was a chase card for a while, remember that. So as you can see, they all have their little cutout border still, even though the cutting of their panel's not the great, but you're not getting the panel. These are the cards. Yeah, the panel's cool, but these are the cards. So in the case where it's actually our actual cards, and then the box is not the collectible, the box is collectible if there's no cards. But since there's cards, really the cards are the collectible, and the box is a bonus, I would suppose. But someday maybe people will be like, no, I want the entire box. Each their own, right? Alright, 17 and 18. Alright, I guess I should step it up a little bit. There's Kirk Gibson as a Detroit Tiger. You know, Steve Garvey running for Senate here in California. Hope he wins, because the state is total cluttered truck, and need some change out here, in my opinion. But probably won't win. but he's doing pretty good supposedly. And of course, always hated the Padres back there for knocking the old Cubs out in '84. But Steve Garvey was a good player, and like I told you before, my middle school PE coach said he was related to Steve, like he was his cousin or something. So is that true, Steve? If you ever watch old style classics baseball cards, show him one of your cards. Were you related to I don't know his first name, maybe John Wood, Coach Wood from Albuquerque? And wouldn't it be cool if Steve Garvey did see this and be like, oh yeah, that's my sister's son or something like that. Or if he's like, no, I didn't know anyone in Albuquerque, that dude lied. That'd be funny to find out. Alright, so 19 and 20. See, boys, people are just keep talking and talking, and it's already half an hour long, and I'm not even halfway through it. Oh boy, this would be one to get replaced probably because old George Brett there, Hall of Famer, has got a little bit of a ding there in the corner. I don't know if it's going to show or not. You can see that little pinch. But John Tudor and George Brett for the Kansas City Royals, looking pretty maybe in the middle of the season, like, oh boy, it's a long year kind of look on his face. So George Brett playing blackjack there, number 21. And John Tudor. Next, another Hall of Famer, Mr. Robin Yount. And Von Hayes, looking kind of like Ray Romano's cousin from Everybody Loves Ray. Raymond. Yeah, he did pretty good there. 19 home runs, a .305 average. So you Phillies fans like Mike O, how did Von Hayes do? Or did you peter out at some point? But there you go, Robin Yount, Hall of Famer. His 153 home runs at that point in time with 1,800 games under his belt. 287 average. 312 and 86, but look at those hits at 2,000 at that point in time. So Robin Yount for your Milwaukee Brewers back in the American League. Before them and Astros swap spots, and I think it's been a good move. It's worked out for Houston, obviously, and gives the old Cubbies and Milwaukee somebody else to be rivals with. All right. Wife's in the room sleeping off. She's still feeling a little ill. She was getting better and then felt pretty bad today. So she's coughing up a storm over there. Kent Herbeck and Darryl Strawberry. So two superstars, you could call them that. All right. Sorry, they're hard to get a little grip on. There you go, Hall of Famer Kirby Puckett. It's got that little bit of issue going right up to the edge, so it'd be a pretty good hand cutter to get that one just right. Old Kirby there. It's 328 batting average and 304 lifetime at that point. Plus 30 home runs, 31 home runs there, so pretty solid. What is this, second year card? I don't know, that's weird for. Guess he didn't hit a whole lot of home runs before. They only had 3, so that's interesting. How he went from having 4 home runs to having 31 in 1 year. Rest in peace. Alright, here's going to be a popular one for all you guys. 29 and 30, Don Mattingly, Donnie Baseball. maybe in the Hall of Fame someday, and Mr. Mike Schmidt. So let's take a look at Mike's numbers there. 37, 495 at that point in time already. Had a good average in 86. Mediocre average in a lifetime. But there he was, 5 home runs short of the 500 club. But only 1,900 hits, so that's not great. So obviously swinging for the fences, right? And old Donnie Baseball there, after his first year, a 352 batting average. It wasn't after his first year, because 113 RBIs in one season is good. 31 home runs was pretty good. So I'm wrong about that, obviously. Yep. Solid peak. Mike O and all you other Phillies collectors there, Mr. Mike Schmidt, on a ton of these oddball issues back in the day. Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson, number 31, and Fernando Valenzuela. Wow, 28 home runs. I don't know, maybe the balls were flying out in 86. Juice ball, hopefully the ball and not the people. And Fernando. In the earlier 80s was a kind of an iconic player at the time, and then he faded away. So that was old Ricky Henderson there. It looked like he was on the Yankees. And then here we go. Hall of Famer, and probably a future Hall of Famer, but they'll probably wait till he dies before putting old Pete in. But Dave Winfield, Hall of Famer, only had 24 home runs that year. But 305 at that point in time. Let's see, RBIs 100. So hold Dave on the Yankees not getting along with old Steinbrenner, and then Pete Rose. See those numbers there, 4,256 hits at this point in time, with the lifetime 300 batting average. So he'll make it. I'm fairly sure they'll let him in, but they're going to wait till he dies, because he's not contrite enough. Alright, 33 and 34. Alright, then you got your Jose Canseco. So there's pretty early Jose Canseco. Looks to be about after his second year there. There's 33 home runs. Horrible batting average though. Come on, focus. Alright, and then Glenn Davis with the Stros. There you can see the Major League Players Association, 1987, MSA, Michael Schenker and Associates. Alright, so there you go, Jose. That was probably a chase one. Be trying to find those at the store. Just a fun set. And who didn't like macaroni and cheese? I mean, I liked it. Pain in the butt to make nowadays, when it's just easier to get the one that has the cheese already made and just squeeze it out of the bag. But biggest problem with macaroni and cheese is the time it takes for it to cook. But sure is yummy. There's Alan Davis and Steve Sachs, for you Dodgers fans in Seattle. Thank God Seattle changed their uniforms. Alright, so there's some numbers for you there. Alright, Pete Incaviglia. Pretty good home run hitter for a little while there. And Jeff Reardon. 39 and 40. Alright, down to our last 8 cards. Jesse Barfield and Hubie Brooks. 41 and 42. Look at Jesse Barfield. Wow, look at that. He had 40 home runs in 86 and 289 batting average, 108 RBIs, and that was a solid little, wow, 40 home runs, pretty good. Back in those days, well, I guess it's American League. I was going to say National League pretty hard, but baseball in general isn't that easy hitting home runs back in this day. They didn't fly out of the park like they did in the 90s and 2000s. And old Hubie, Andre Dawson teammate that year. Looks like Wrigley Field there in the background. Did a lot of baseball card pictures at Wrigley Field. And I think the reason why is because they played day games. Alright, here we go. George Bell and Hall of Famer Tony Gwynn. George Bell, 31 home runs in 86 and then 47 in 87. I know that. Because 87 he came 2 less than Dawson and McGuire. But he was your American League MVP in 87, and this is technically an 87 card. So I guess this is his MVP year card. And he ended up on the Cubs. And then you got Mr. Tony Gwynn and his 329 batting average, 326 lifetime at that point. 27 home runs, not a lot of RBIs though, a lot of hits. Decent amount of runs. But look at that batting average. It's unfortunate though, you'd think you'd have more RBIs with that kind of batting average. But San Diego was not known for being a great team, except what, 84? Roger Clemens, Chili Davis. I love Chili Davis. Love the name. But old Roger Clemens, why, dude? Why did you do what you did? You and Barry were just on a comet ride right into the Hall of Fame. Old Clemens there on the Red Sox, and oh, Chili was a giant. There you go. Rick. Oddball Rick. Rick, vintage oddball collector. There's your Giants. Wonder if Rick collected these because they are oddball. Rick, if you watch this video, let me know. Alright, then the last panel. Mike Witt and Nolan Ryan. So there you go, Hall of Famer Nolan Ryan. And at that point in time, been playing since the 60s and only had 253 wins at that point. ERA though, over all those seasons, 3.15 lifetime. Mostly states, because almost at 500 on the winning percentage. Just must have been on some pretty horrible teams. Kind of the Greg Maddux syndrome at the end of his career. Could have had closer to 400 wins if he didn't play on some really crappy teams. And the Cubs were one of them when he was back. They could not score. Mike Witt had a decent run there, it looks like. Alright. So there's your basic normal panels in order, 1 through 48. And this is the one that they'd sent me that was missing the green part, so I had to get the other one because this was going to drive me nuts. And as you can see, this edge, any of the edges that they cut out, I mean, you can see that's kind of diamond cut, diamond hand cut, I don't know what you call it, but see where you see that little border there, you would want that all the way around, but this person cut it a little short. So needless to say, it wouldn't grade. Minimum size not met or something, but still, that's cool. Little panel if you're a collector of either of these guys. But yeah, so I had to go back and get the full-size panel. And then it just has this, kind of keep them stiff. So there you go, folks. wonderful, spectacular in my opinion. Bland, you know, they're kind of a little bland, a little basic, but just spectacular. I love these cards. Kraft Home Plate Heroes 87, complete set, panels. So I'm going to end it there, 45 minutes. I'm Rob at Old Style Classics Baseball Cards. And let you go out seeing a Hall of Famer. There you go, Nolan Ryan. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll come back. I got a few other things to show you. Bye.